We
There
are
we go.
live. JT here. Welcome to The Huddle. The Huddle is where I sit down with successful people from the world of sport and coaching. It's to learn more about their journey to greatness. Why do I have these conversations? Because success always leaves clues. I just want to thank you, whether you are joining me and my special guest as we stream live into our Facebook community, whether you are watching the replay in Facebook, on YouTube, whether you're listening to the audio on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here with me and my special guest. And I want to prompt you with a friendly reminder that your mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's wide open. And my challenge to you today is to keep your mind open. And if you keep it open, I guarantee you that you will pick up a valuable nugget of wisdom that will help you become a champion in the game of life. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a little bit. I've been following my special guest on social media for a little bit. We've connected a little bit on social, and I've just really been inspired by her journey. I've just been watching her, really be a catalyst of change, a driver of change. And I really just wanted to get to learn more about her and her journey to greatness. My guest in the huddle today is the current running back coach and strength and conditioning coach at McMaster University. My guest in the huddle today is Coach Amanda Ruller. How are you today, Coach?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I love doing stuff like this and kind of sharing my message or messages of other women out in the football industry. So thank you again for having me.
Oh, you know what, Coach? It's my pleasure. And before we get started, I'm a big believer in gratitude and finding our blessings in our life. So I just really want to take a moment to send you some gratitude. As I mentioned, as we first started talking today, I'm always inspired by people that want to be part of the change. And I don't see you just being part of it. I see you driving change. So thank you for being that voice of hope, of inspiration, and just showing people what's possible, Coach. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
I really do appreciate that. It means a lot because sometimes you're going so hard in the mix and you're grinding so hard. Yeah. When you hear stuff like that, it makes it all worth it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Coach, one of the first things that I like to do in the huddle is to remind people that life is a game and games are supposed to be fun. So I'm curious, is there an interesting fact? Some may call it a quirk that maybe a lot of people don't know about you that you would be open to sharing with our community?
Yeah, so something fun that's not really football related. It's kind of cool. So I love being on game shows. So I've actually been on The Price is Right and I've won a car. And I was actually on Celebrity Name Game with Craig Ferguson. And I won a cash amount. I won $3,000 just being on that game show. So I'm kind of a game show person.
Okay.
Because I've kind of got this quirky personality where I go audition for these shows and I make it on.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is that if there is a contest that anyone wants to win, to reach out, you are going to be their lucky charm.
Oh yeah, I can coach you through it, let you know how you can get on the show. I'm your person. I can help you do that. So yeah.
Okay. I'm curious, what kind of car did you win on The Price is Right?
A Hyundai Sonata, but because I'm Canadian, they actually had to cut me a check. So I ended up, because I didn't have a vehicle at the time, and I remember Drew Carey asking, do you have a car? And I was like, Drew, I don't have a car. This would be perfect. So I cut the check and I bought myself a Jeep Patriot. I don't have it right now because I did switch it up a little bit to a different vehicle, but it was amazing to actually have the money to get myself a vehicle and have that part of my life. So yeah.
Okay. I love it. Okay, Coach. So I'm curious, you've had a very extensive career in sport, right? First, as a player in many different leagues at the national level, at the professional level, and then you've transitioned into coaching, right? Like you're a strength and conditioning coach, and I love seeing all these like amazing. My kin background like loves when I'm seeing you doing all these Olympic lifts and just seeing you get after it.
Mhm.
And then you've sort of turned this into a passion of coaching football, right? So I'm curious, what is the biggest life lesson that you've gotten in sport that you find you still apply to your life today?
Oh, definitely how to be disciplined in whatever you want to achieve, and that level of compete. You can take that into sport, but you need to take that into life as well, because nothing is going to be handed to you. Just like I learned that through sports, because you have to work very, very hard, not only for your position. I even played soccer. You still have to be in the weight room, right? Because you have to work on speed, injury prevention, everything you do in life. Like I wanted to be a football coach, I had to watch hours and hours of film. You have to put in the little work behind the scenes to get to where you want to be. And I learned that to be resilient, to have that discipline. Everyone wants to have a nice body, right? But no one's willing to put in the nutritional work that's behind just going to the gym. So it's doing all those little things I learned through sport to make me be successful in who I am in my career going forward.
I love that, coach. And what I'm hearing from you is this idea of, I'm a firm believer that every high performer has this delicate balance between being process driven, but goal oriented. And what I have found in my experience is that it's really easy, especially in today's age where we see all the shiny trophies, right? And we see all that, but we sometimes forget that the person that's gotten those trophies, that have won those accolades, that won those awards, those positions, have put on a lot of work that you don't see, that we don't see on. So I'm curious from you, is that a lesson that you always understood, the importance of being process driven, or was that something that you just picked up over time?
I was fortunate enough to learn that early on. Like my parents had put me in a few high competitive sports at a very young age. Figure skating, to tell you. I'm not a figure skater now, but figure skating, and you'd fall and you'd fall and you'd get up, and they say, okay, well, if you have to be better, you have to put in the little stuff. Like we need to get your nutrition right. Even at a young age, learning to eat your broccoli and your vegetables. They taught me that very valuable lesson of doing the little things that's going to help me be successful. And I had to continue doing that. I was very short, and I still am. I'm only 5 feet. So I had to work even harder than everyone else. And because of that, like when I was young, people would make fun of me, say, oh, you're short, you can't do it, you can't make it. So I think it really drove me. I had a little chip on my shoulder. So it drove me to be the person I am today. So I'm kind of thankful of stuff like that, like the little setbacks that kind of pushed you back, and people telling you you almost can't do something because of who you are. Short, a woman, whatever it may be, I was told it. So by the outside sources. But it's so funny, everyone inside my circle, like my parents or my friends or people within whatever industry I was trying to be in, were encouraging me and say, keep going, keep pushing, eat correctly so you don't feel bad at practice. Like, right, if you eat a cheeseburger and go to practice, you're not probably going to feel the best. So I learned that at a very young age, because I was in competitive sports early on. And even when I was in high school, I was just like, parents, like, what should I start taking creatine? And then they would like, well, you know what, let's research it. So I was fortunate enough to have that encouragement growing up. And I remember they took me to all the CFL football games, and I said, Dad, like, could I play football someday? And he's like, you can do whatever you want to do. So that was my biggest driving force to even get into touch football at a young age. I did it in elementary school because he said I could. And imagine if you had a support system that said, no, you can't, women can't play football. But my dad was my hugest supporter in telling me I could do whatever I wanted to do. And I need to put in that extra work because, I'm small and I need to get there. So he helped me along the way.
It's interesting, coach. And what I love about that were a couple things. You definitely brought up the idea that, successful people in any walk of life, they have this ambition, this drive, this coachability, right? This edge, right? That pushes them to do great things, that inspires them to get up and do the things that, quite truthful, not everyone's willing to do. That's okay. But what I really love that you talked about was the power of environment. So you're an expert in strength and conditioning, right? You're an expert in coaching football. I'm curious with you, how important from your experience is it to be in a positive and encouraging and inspiring community and environment?
Oh, I believe it is important. And you got to put yourself there as well. Like if you don't have that support system, I was fortunate enough to have it with my family. But if you start surrounding yourself with friends that maybe are not as encouraging, right? They may say, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. As a woman, I will say I had some friends that said, don't do that, settle down, have a baby right away. And I don't want to say it, but like that happened to me. And you know what? Sometimes you just have to distance yourself from that because that's not the path I wanted to see for me. And I said, I want to pursue something different for myself. Not saying that that's not awesome to pursue, but I was a little different who I am. So I just kind of distance yourself and have a positive environment. So get people, doesn't matter who you are, surrounding yourself that encourage you. I take on a lot of older coaches too. Like I will say, Coach Jamie Barisi, quite an older gentleman. He has become one of my best friends because he is teaching me so much about football. He is encouraging. He took me over to his family's for supper. Like we really become friends to the point where he's helping support me and grow as an individual. And you never think that, right? Because he is an older coach, but we jive and he's a good friend of mine now. And surround yourself with people like that, right? To where you want to go, where you want to achieve. If you keep doing the same thing you've always done, you'll keep getting the same results you've always got. And that I kind of live by that quote. So I try to branch out and gain friendships from people that places I do want to go, genuine friendships, and learn from their experiences. Because I haven't lived it all. So I can't tell you everything that life is going to handle and give to you, but maybe they can give me some wisdom and nuggets to go forward.
I love that, Coach. And I love your energy. I just, you have this, just this warm energy, and you can just tell you're so open-minded and willing to learn. And it was interesting that you shared that idea. I have one of my former athletes that I coach, students I taught, who's also a client, Coach Travis Desjardins. He actually won the Coaching Diversity Award at Queen's. So he's actually in his first year coaching U Sport football as well. And he always tells me, hey, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Mm-hmm. And so you reminded me of him when he was sharing that. So I'm curious, you had this great opportunity this season, and I know it's still a work in progress. And, you had this opportunity to join this coaching apprenticeship, right, through McMaster. And I had Coach Grant on a few weeks ago. I've gotten to know Coach Underhill through Team Ontario and stuff like that. And what's really cool is I feel like you're in a great environment now. Like you're in a very supportive, you're a very empowering, encouraging environment. What has the experience been like for you in this transition, in this new adventure?
Oh my goodness. I think when Coach Grant and Coach Patazik got on a Zoom call with me and said, did you want to come? Or like, we've chosen you to come to Ontario. I said, yes. They said, do you want to think about it? Because when you really do think about it, I had to come all the way from Saskatchewan. I had to leave friends, family, my home, and come here on a whim. I'm living in the university dorms. I was leaving everything, but in my mind, I was gaining everything because I get to work with these amazing, encouraging coaches that are going to get me to the next level that I want to get to. Work in U Sport, potentially in the future, work in CFL or beyond. I think even just working with them this short time, my confidence in football IQ has raised to the highest heights they ever could because they've been there. they've done that. And my confidence, like if I go on, I can do whatever I want to do. And I'm confident in that position because they've been such a great team. They answer all of my questions. We stay late just chatting about football. They take me to some of the recruiting meetings. So I see all the elements I need to have to be a really good coach. They let me cut film. Like I've been able to do everything everyone does, like work with Coach Underhill, actually with special teams. And he's been so great, just teaching me that extra element, because I wanted to absorb everything from all of these different people, and especially Corey Grant, just learning from him. Think about where he's been and where I've been, so I'm just trying to get up to his level. So surrounding yourself with those knowledgeable people that you can absorb that information. And I'm so open-minded and getting to know them and getting to see, what have you learned? What can you teach me? That's where I grow, because I'm getting out of my comfort zone. It was very, overwhelming jumping in with all these decorated coaches, but I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, I am with you. I could go on. I could coach in U Sport because you've taught me. So congratulations to them for taking me on and giving me a chance in this industry.
It's I definitely think of two things as I heard you sharing. One, I've always felt that McMaster would be a great environment, like a very fun, very like energetic environment to coach in. Like I've always kind of, the football program there is always, to me, always done a great job that way. When I asked Coach Grant in the huddle a few weeks ago what his biggest lesson has been, what his biggest takeaway is, he can coach. Like he was saying, like he's been, blown away with what you're bringing to the table in terms of your ability and to communicate and find different ways to reach people. So I'm curious from you, it sounds like your belief in what's possible has strengthened, right, over this experience. Have there been any other big takeaways, any ahas in this experience for you?
Oh, yes. Because I've been working with the running backs quite a bit. And so I tried to absorb everything from everybody. So I even got to know Coach Scott Brady a little bit more, and we've been talking defense. I kind of almost want to try coaching defense a little bit. That's what was an aha moment. I'm like, like I could coach something else, because he's been teaching me more about defense. I almost want to try my hand at that a little bit. So you never know, like where you're going to end up. Like I could start out coaching running backs, special teams, and I could go over here in this aspect. I think it's unique in the fact that I come into this industry with such a heavy background in strength and conditioning. Everything from kinesiology degree with my CSCS and my certified strength conditioning specialist and certified exercise physiology. So I come in with a different eye and mindset than some of the coaches, right? But that's part of my strength and conditioning background. I can help them, but they can help me in such a bigger way. So it's kind of cool. I had an aha moment because I thought, what did I bring to the table? Like before I came in here, what can I teach these guys that they don't already know? And I realized it was because of my extensive background in strength and conditioning that I could show them some different things coming in.
You know what I really heard from you there, Coach? And again, it's a hallmark of every successful and highly effective person is you are clear on what your gifts, your talents, and your abilities are, right? You were celebrating, hey, I have this extensive background, right? As a strength and conditioning coach, what can I bring to the table, right? And you were really just celebrating those experiences and finding out how to add value, right, to the other coaches, to the program, to the players, and you've created your own niche, your own value to the program. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I'm very thankful, right? Because a lot of people, like we were talking before, sometimes people love to be stuck in their ways, right? And I love to push the boundaries, saying like, let's do this a different way. And even if I brought an idea to the table, they were like, yeah, let's look at it that way and see what we can do. So I'm very thankful for them being as open-minded as they were and inviting me in and seeing what I had to say. It wasn't just, we're doing it one way and this is the clear-cut way. How do you see it? Asking for my feedback. As a new coach, I'm not just saying, because I'm a female, there as a new coach, sometimes you're probably, shoved to the bottom of the list. They encouraged me, asked for my opinion, see where I could come in and make this a better program. And I'm really appreciative of that.
What I'm hearing from you is, again, the importance of environment, like we're talking about, but also surrounding yourself with other calm and confident people, because when you're around other calm and confident people, people don't feel threatened, right? They're comfortable in their own skin, and they know, hey, I bring this to the table, and together, we can actually achieve more, right? The true, like, together, everyone achieves more, that as that old cliche of sport, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm curious, one of the things I think that really drew me to your story was, my wife is a kin background as well. She was a strength and conditioning coach for junior hockey, let's just say a few years ago, right? When it wasn't as mainstream. So she was working with a lot of athletes, like she was sort of challenging old ways of thinking. And then and with football, being a coach, right? Which is now starting to, in the last few years, there've been more women, more diversity in coaching. I'm curious from you, what has been the thing that maybe has been the biggest aha? Like, what would you say maybe has been the biggest growth experience for you in this process of really like pushing and driving change?
The biggest thing, I'm trying to think of the biggest thing. So I tried to push myself into the industry a lot of ways. So I started like, can I coach? Can I volunteer? I did some volunteering, but then I was like, can I do media? So I started doing media for the riders. And then I ended up doing some off-season training for some of the riders, positional work and speed training. So I worked with some of the athletes. Then I started working with the University of Regina Rams for speed training specifically, working with these players, different positional groups. And I was like, how can I get more into this? So I was silently kind of grinding through the industry. I was on a talk show in Saskatchewan, and I actually voiced that I wanted to one day see more women within the CFL in coaching roles. I'm not saying just hire us because of me being a female. I'm saying at least let us come and volunteer. I was just wishing there was more internship programs for women within the industry. And that's tough because there's not a lot of women working within the CFL that can help drive and push these initiatives. I was vocal about it. And that was the first time I got a lot of saying, should we do some internships? And then I got a lot of pushback, but a lot of encouragement. And from that, I even was asked to be on another talk show on Sports Illustrated. When I was on that, Tom Brady's agent actually called me. So I had this aha moment, like people are actually listening to me. So he invited me to come be the first woman to coach at, he has an NFL free agency camp in the States. He does every month. He has an NFL free agency camp. And he asked me to come coach the running backs, DBs, and do the S&C. So like the warm-ups, cool downs, everything. I was very honored. So I ended up going, and I learned so much from them and being there and just realizing that once you kind of push even harder, even past that point where you're kind of uncomfortable, people saying, you can't do this, women shouldn't coach, because goodness, I got that. Just keep going, because one day you'll get that aha moment where someone will call you and say, you're valuable, we want you and we need you, and what you're saying is worthwhile, and what you can do can push the limits of this industry. Whereas all these other people not in the industry are saying, you can't do this, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't put the players' careers on the line because of who you are. So I had that moment where I'm like, I am worthy, I am valuable, and what I bring to the table is going to be valuable for these athletes. So I'll keep going, keep pushing for what you want, and ignore the people over here that are saying you can't.
I love what you're sharing, Coach. And why I love it is that I really get a sense of how, strong your conviction is, right? Like just that belief, that faith that, as you take consistent and focused action, that as you knock on doors, when one door maybe slams shut in your face, 5 more doors are potentially going to open. So I really get this sense that you're someone who takes focused action, and great things just show up, great opportunities, great meetings, great, getting invited to camps.
Oh yeah, you can't, a lot of the time is people, once they feel that door closes, and trust me, I've had a lot, they feel defeated. And I've had a lot of those instances in my life where I could have easily quit. And I will share this quick story of grief for me. So when I was competing in sports for Team Canada skeleton, unfortunately, my mom had called and said, "You got to come home. Your dad's in the hospital." So I came home, and it turns out he was in a coma because he had a brain tumor. He ended up passing away very suddenly. And part of somebody is they say, okay, what can I take away from this? I actually use that grief as an immense motivation to kind of push me. So I went back to sports right away, and I used that saying, I'm going to do this for him because he can't be here. And I kept, every time someone said no, I'm like, no, my dad wouldn't say no in this situation. So that was very tough for me to keep going, but I did because he couldn't. He can't go anymore. He's not with us. Whereas maybe other people would just quit. And that was a huge like brick wall, not just a door closed, it was a wall in front of me. But I just like took a sledgehammer and I was like, get out of my way. There's no way I'm going to stop. And that's the biggest thing that pushes me, is doing everything for him and for his name. And I just wish that he knew that I was a football coach, because of I mentioned all the games that he had taken me to, and saying like, you could do anything the boys can do. You can be a football athlete. And him, if he got to see me in this position, he would be so proud. So that's my driving force.
And, I just want you to know, I think of myself, as a parent, and I will, share that I know he is looking down and so proud of you just for continuing to persevere and persist through. And why it touches my heart is I have the same thing. And this is something I don't share a lot with people. To be quite truthful, I'm not very close with my dad. It just there. But my grandfather, the way you described your dad was how I look at my grandfather, my mom's dad, is that I have a picture of him on my phone. And I ask the questions like you, I have my falls, I have my slip up, but I use that picture as a reminder, like, what would my grandfather do? Because I feel like the qualities he possessed, that he taught me, that the lessons he taught me that I didn't even know he was teaching me, the love, the joy, and the peace, are kind of like my center. They bring me back to harmony. So again, that one, as a parent, your story touched my heart, but two, it just reminded me of, we all need people that almost to be those guiding lights for us.
Oh yeah, no, it's tough because it's a tough situation, but when you look back at it, hey, how can I kind of honor them in that moment?
So I'm curious, like I was mentioning earlier, you are giving people hope, right? Just through your actions, just celebrating your gifts, your talents, your abilities, you are showing people what's possible. And I'm curious, has the fear, like, have you ever felt that fear of like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing? Like, do you ever kind of hear some of that, let's just say, chatter? Do you ever hear some of that chatter as you're going through your journey?
Yes. So I've actually labeled it as imposter syndrome.
Okay.
Because you're going through your journey and sometimes you stop and you say, I don't know enough to be doing this. And you think that you're not qualified to be doing this. And I think about that, every now and then, but you just honestly have to push past that, because when I started talking to more people about it, everyone has felt that at some time. And then I was like, you felt that too? So once you talk about it and kind of know that everyone's kind of felt like they don't belong, or they shouldn't be there, or they're not qualified, you start to think, wow, why am I actually thinking this? So that's every time I do think about that, I chat with somebody that's a little more experienced than me. And once you find out we're all going through that, then you know that it's a valid feeling, right? Chat about it, get it out of your system, and go on with your day, because it's not worth dwelling and worrying about, because you are qualified, you are worthy, no matter where you are, stage 1 in your journey like me, or a decorated coach like Coach Corey Grant or Mr. Patasic. So it's hard to compare yourself to that level, but you will reach that one day. So just keep going, keep grinding. You won't be there tomorrow, but 1% better every single day.
I love it. And I'm hearing that strength and conditioning background, right? Like you gotta get in the gym every day. And I really love the analogy that you talked about. It's so easy. And we've been programmed that way to dwell in the past, right? To keep, I can give you this analogy. I always give my clients this analogy, like we're driving a car and we've been conditioned to constantly looking over our shoulder, looking in the rearview mirror, just beating ourselves up and, getting stuck in that cycle where the fastest and most efficient way to actually get to where you want to go is to put both hands on the steering wheel, keep your eyes on the road ahead. And the more you can do that, the more you can discipline your mind to do that, you'll get there, and you'll get there faster. And it's going to be more enjoyable journey.
Yeah, the one thing that's been helping me is doing mindful meditation, because you do get in that headspace, right? Of that constant feedback loop, thinking you're not good enough sometimes. Meditation has really helped me. And I use some Headspace meditation app where I can just take a minute, think about, just like center myself, get myself back to normal. So I'm not running into that wall where I'm beating myself saying I'm not good enough, because you are. Get in that app or whatever way you meditate, right? You can just go for a drive or go for a coffee, but figure out what that is for you and try that.
Yeah. Great reminder that there's more power in being than doing, right? Like the power really is that being still sometimes, it just, like you said, cools the jets, harnesses that ambition and drive, that athlete mindset, right? And it just gets us back to center, to harmony.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, you've had a very, like I was mentioning earlier, a very diverse background in football and coaching. And one of the areas that we're really trying to grow with Football Ontario is this idea of making it more diverse, equitable, inclusive. And I'm curious from you've kind of been on both sides now as a player, as a coach. In your opinion, what is something that we can all do to help bring more diversity, more inclusive opportunities, more equality, and really just grow this game and share this game with more people, that and really just as you know, this beautiful game. How can we share this with more people?
A lot of the time when you are looking for new coaches, it's the next man up mentality. And I hate to say that, right? But I wish that there was more opportunities like this. I hope that more universities actually adopt, or maybe even high schools have an internship or an apprenticeship for more diverse individuals, female, whatever the case may be. So we can get more people in to foster those people, the next person up, instead of just, like, hey, I know this coach, like he's been coaching for this long, let's get him in. Maybe I have a different take on football. So I want to have these programs going forward. And it's tough because you have to have more women in the industry to foster these programs going forward, or people more diverse to go forward. So I think that that's huge. Just sharing the stories of women or whoever want to be in the industry is amazing. So like what we're doing today, sharing those stories, creating those opportunities for them, and giving more volunteer spots where people can come work with individuals and gain that experience, right? Because it's tough, because you don't want to hire a coach that you don't know, or you don't know their capacity. I would never want you to hire me just based on me being a female. Please do not. Have me come volunteer, see what I can do. What can I do? How can I help this team? And if it's a good fit, bring them on. But how can you do that? By getting to know them, getting to see them in action. You let them run a warm up first, then do some individual practice with the position or whatever. But we need to start having that come forward. And what I like now is I'm helping out the McMaster women's flag football while we just finished our season. And the amount of women that came out, 100 women. I've never seen that many women interested in football. And I come from out west, and there is nothing like that. So even me going forward, I would love to even foster a program in Saskatchewan. And I know Ontario, there's a huge like women's flag football. That is amazing. So keep doing that. Keep making these women more interested in playing football, even flag level. But I want to see going forward, getting them involved at the next level. How can we do that? And even CFL, I do challenge them, right, to get those programs going. And I will kick their butts about it because I've been saying it very vocally and I've gotten a lot of pushback saying we can't do this. We don't have the money. And I'm saying, you know what, but you have to make it a program for the industry to thrive because you're losing people. You're losing young generation. Mm-hmm. You want to get more females involved. You got to start doing more internships or social media or getting people excited about the CFL again.
Mm-hmm. I love it. One of the things I've really picked up from our conversation is I love how you're always asking for what you want. Right? It's really easy to ask for what you don't want. I love the fact of you have this playful way of, hey, this is what I want. I'm not apologizing for it. This is where I want to go. So I love that. And I think you bring up a great point. And I was having this conversation this week. I'm a firm believer that what you invest in with your time, your energy, I put money in there, shows what you're committed to growing. Mm-hmm. And if we're serious about growing an area, for example, if I want to grow my health and I need some specialized knowledge, I have to be willing to invest in working with someone like you, or really I'm not that committed to it. And I think that's where we can start to really push the envelope, right? So like, what are we committed to growing? If we're committed to growing more diverse, equitable, inclusive opportunities for females, for the BIPOC mentorship, for just underrepresented groups, we got to put our money where our mouth is sometimes. And those opportunities, and it's amazing, the amazing people we'll find, such as yourself.
You said it right there. That's exactly what we have to invest in going forward, because it's been too stagnant for too long. Mm-hmm. I wish I could start running like some women's camps even here, or for people that have never tried football. I would love to get that started and show women more about football. You have to go back to basics sometimes, like even tackling, because I'm saying this, I did compete in women's football in the States and within Canada. I played on Team Canada. Mm-hmm. Tackling, right, is where we're weakest at, because I noticed that as a running back. And that's something, even just running a camp like that, how to tackle, would be so huge and so great going forward, because then they can teach someone and they can teach someone, and the umbrella just keeps getting bigger and bigger. But it has to start with somebody. It has to, or else we're going to keep doing the same thing we've always done, right?
Yeah. So I'll sort of plant this seed. You know what? I have a feeling that this first conversation, I feel like you and I are going to have some interesting conversations, because I feel like we both have some big ideas that we kind of want to see. So, but we'll table that for another time. I'm curious from you, why is it so important to have, and I'll use you as an example, why is it so important? Let's just focus on the female side right now. Why is it so important to be able to, for other females to be able to see, coaches such as yourself in these roles? Like, in your opinion, why is it so important that we actually see it in action?
It's so important to me. When you think of football in general, you can't think of another sport where you're just like, this is a man's sport, like just straight, this is a man's sport, only men compete, right? But when you think of football in general, a lot of people say it's just a man's sport. Men play, they play at professional levels. I want to eliminate that thinking that just men play, just men coach. Because listen, it doesn't matter who you are, what person you are, you can come into the industry and do a good job. As long as you have passion, you're gaining that experience where you need to, you can coach them with your best ability. Because a lot of the time they say women can't coach because they haven't played football. Well, let's turn that around. Let's start at base level. Let's get these women playing the sport first and foremost if they want. And you know what? They don't even have to play, right? Because lots of coaches, they didn't play football, but then give them that education where they can come in and do apprenticeships at wherever school, high school, university, and then get into the industry So they're inspired to do it. The biggest feedback I get from women is they're afraid. They said, how can you be in such a male dominated sport? Isn't that scary? I want to cut that out. I don't want you to ever think this is a scary industry, because it's not. We're all the same people. We're just playing a sport. And that's what I want to push home and push forward, so that I don't want everyone to think that a woman can't coach. And I've seen a lack of representation here in Canada. We see 23 women coaching within the NFL. 23, and especially that I'm counting even scouts and VP of operations for the Eagles. That's amazing. I want to see more of that here. And how do I do that? Is by eliminating that idea that we can't, because that's all I've heard for a really long time.
You know, as you were sharing there at the end, it reminded me of that Henry Ford quote: whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And it's interesting that other people's logic is none of our business, right? It's whatever we think we can. And what I really loved as you shared is the proof is in the pudding. If I'm going to give a cliche, I was listening to something recently where it talked about, if you take a look at the growth of the NFL in terms of its fans, close to 50% are women. And these are coming from stats. And I've heard this on multiple sports talk shows. So, I mean, the demand's there. When 50% of your audience is women, there's a demand there. I think even at a grassroots level, I think of, you know, we're just coming out of October, which traditionally has been, and I'm grateful that it's sort of moved away from this powder puff, which is, I mean, it is what it is, right? And now we're celebrating, you know, female football. I'm telling you, some of the best football that I've seen are some of those games. Like, I've been at schools where my thought as a football coach is like, oh my gosh, I want that athlete on my team because she's fast, she's physical, she can go up and catch a football, right? Like, there's lots of things. So I just love that we're changing the idea of what's possible, right? And growing this game together.
Yes, the biggest thing push for me is looking at the Canadian Football League. Is how, I'm asking, how have we not had any woman in any position, like a positional position, ever? Not even an internship. We had see the same coaches being recycled team after team after team. Mm-hmm. If you want to grow this industry and have more fans, younger fans, women fans, to buy your season tickets, because that's the hugest thing, is that season ticket holders are getting less and less every year. They're buying the one-off tickets. They're coming to one game. You got to expand your audience. You got to do something different. You got to change it up. Let's go. Let's figure it out so that we can grow as an industry. The worst thing that could happen is that the CFL is forgotten. You saw the pandemic. They did lose that year of playing. They lost a lot of money, and I get it, right? Money is an issue right now. But you have these spots available for maybe an entry-level position, anyone coming in to maybe help out, like even volunteer. I just asked, like, can I volunteer? And I got no's across the board. You don't even have to pay me. I'm willing to do it for free. But that's the mental image I'm getting, is no, 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 no. We need to change that.
Well, I feel like what I started to get there was I got that sense of those lessons of persistence that, you know, your dad taught you, where I feel like that edge is going to come back. And I know that you're going to persist. You're going to keep knocking on those doors, and someone's going to get a heck of a coach and a heck of a human being in you, coach.
Yes, it is quite a industry where there's a lot of turnaround as well. Mm-hmm. Right? So everyone's saying, why would you want to, I got this from people, why would you want to enter an industry that's very all over the place? There's no security. And I was like, that's the fun, right? Figuring out your next move. I would be just so bored working at a desk 9 to 5. That's me and my personality. I'm ready to take these risks. I'm ready to do whatever it takes to have fun in life. When I'm coaching, I am not looking at the clock. I don't mind how many hours I put in, because to me, it's fun. It's not a job. But if I was behind a desk, I'd be like, how much time do I have left? So for me, it's a lifestyle and it's a career opportunity that I'm going to have fun with. And I think that's what life in general is about. People always ask, why are we on this earth? to find out what we want to do and do it.
I love it. And as you were sharing, it reminded me about what true security is. You know, we've been programmed to believe that security comes from things outside of us, you know, and I say this because I left the safe and comfortable world of high school education. Like, that's probably one of the most secure jobs. And, you know, that, and, or we see it, you know, we see security in the number of zeros on a paycheck or a scoreboard and all these things, right? What people say about us. But true security is when you're doing, like you said, what you truly love to do. And then it just feels easier. Time flies by. It just feels more effortless. And like you said, that's the beauty of life.
Yes, especially my time here, it felt so short because I was working so hard every single day. I didn't even notice that the time was going by because it was so much fun.
Okay. So Coach, I want to be respectful of your time. So I'm curious, you know, knowing what you know now, you've been on this amazing journey. I'm so enthused just to see how it continues to unfold, because I think it's just going to get bigger and things are going to get, you know, even better and more opportunities, more, you know, greatness is going to flow to you. What is a piece of advice you would offer someone that's maybe like they're thinking about doing something big? Maybe it's health, relationships, career, school, whatever, but they're still like playing the should I or shouldn't I game? Like, as I say, they're like shooting on themselves. What is that piece of advice for someone who just has a big dream inside of them?
You have to start now. You have to start today. That is my biggest piece of advice, because life is too short, and it's so cliche, but I think one of my biggest wake up moments is seeing your young father at a young age pass away. And I'm like, we do not have enough time on this planet. You do not have enough time. So if you do not start now, you'll never start. If you're waiting for that perfect day, and I hear that all the time, I gotta wait till it's perfect. I gotta wait till the timings, till I know more about football to get into it. You just gotta jump right in. You gotta get to the gym if you want to get to the gym. You gotta jump right in that sport you want to get to, volunteer wherever you want. After you've done your work for the day, do it now, because you're not going to be an expert overnight. And that's the hugest thing, is people think, okay, I'm going to jump right in and I'm going to be good at it in 1 year. I've been lifting weights for like 15 years and I'm still working on it. So stuff like that, asking, how can I get to your level? You have to start today. Go after what you want. Send that email. I sent tons and tons of emails, like 100 emails. I got 2 back and they were good, right? But out of those 100 times I was rejected, like 98 times. And that's fine, because that's part of what you need to do, is you need to fail. You need to fail. But that one time you'll be successful, and that's what counts.
Such great advice. And I love it. It goes back to one of the ideas I live by, which is keep it simple, simple. Okay. So Coach, how can we help? How can we support you? What is the best way people can support what you're growing? Can they follow you on social?
Yeah. You guys can follow me on social media, on Instagram at Amanda Ruller. I do share all of my football journeys. So please help share that message and share that stories of me and other women working in the industry, no matter what industry. It could be hockey, it could be any sport in general. Women that are kicking butt out there, let everyone know about it. You guys can find me on Twitter at Amanda Bollick. You guys can find me on my website, amandaruller.com. I do offer programming for athletes, speed, sprints, programming, and weights type of stuff. Positional, whatever you're working on, I got you. You can also find me on Twitch. Twitch.com/Amanda Ruller. I play video games. I play Madden and Call of Duty. See, I'm multifaceted, so you can find me all over the place.
I'm getting a sense of that. I love that, Coach. Yeah. Hey, on a personal note, Coach, I have a strong, powerful little girl in my life, and I'm going to share with you, I am definitely going to encourage her to listen to this one. And because I think you definitely shared a lot of great wisdom, great knowledge, great experience. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a tough journey, but honestly, it's all worth it. Every time someone that told me I couldn't, I kept going. So that's what you got to do in life.
Yeah, definitely. So Coach, I just want to take a moment just to acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge you for, the great daughter you are, the great coach, the teacher, the mentor, but most importantly, the amazing human being you are. The one thing I've really taken away from our time here together is just this energy and enthusiasm and passion you have for life. Like it's infectious, like it jumps out, like your smile, like your energy, like you're just, let's go, let's get it done. Like it's just a great reminder that when you move towards things that energize you, that make you feel enthused, that light that fire in your belly, that light that passion, great things happen. And that really is the purpose of life. So thank you for that simple reminder, Coach.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, I love reminding people of that because you have to live every single day, right? So it's super important to remember that.
Yeah. So folks, Coach Ruller dropped so many valuable nuggets of wisdom. But as I remind you every week in the huddle, knowledge is potential power. It's the consistent and focused application, right? Like going to the gym, rep in, rep out, that actually creates the results that you want. So my challenge to you is to take one of these valuable nuggets of wisdom and go apply it to your life today. Not tomorrow, not next week, as Coach said, today. And you will be well on your way to achieving your next level of greatness. As always, I love hearing the feedback. Send me those messages, send Coach those messages about what resonated with you. We always love hearing feedback. And most importantly, I will see you next time in the huddle. Have a great day, everyone.